Last December, the sequel to Remedy Entertainment's 2019 action-adventure game Control was announced for 2026, and the release date is surely going to be revealed any minute now. So I wanted to replay the first game to prepare myself on this road to Control Resonant, to make sure all the lore is fresh in my mind before stepping into the next chapter. And also because Control has been one of my favorite video games ever since I first played it about 5 years ago, so of course I'll take any excuse to replay it. And I'll take any excuse to talk about it. Now, I initially thought I might do a little retrospective on the whole game, talking about all the things the game does well and what I hope we'll see expanded on in the sequel, but as much as I'd love to ramble about how amazing the multimedia storytelling is, how beautiful the visual design is, how great the acting and quirky characters are, or any of the countless other things I love about the game, or even the areas I think are less than perfect, during this playthrough, one theme stood out to me a little more than usual, and I knew I wanted to talk about that specifically. So let's talk about the game's heroine, Jesse Faden, and how, well, she couldn't be happier to find herself in the game's setting, the oldest house. She simultaneously plays the role of a somewhat reluctant protagonist. As often as you hear her enthusiasm for being in this place, you'll also hear her complain about the responsibilities that come with it, which makes her a layered character in a really cool way. So let's start looking at those layers. Of course, after the Altered World event in Jesse's hometown when she was 11 years old, her life was turned upside down. The town was destroyed, her parents and everyone else died, and her brother was captured by the mysterious Federal Bureau of Control. Jessie ran away before they could take her, too, but spent much of her adult life searching for any trace of the FBC so she could save her brother, filled with regret for feeling like she had abandoned him when he got taken away. But everyone else thought Jessie was crazy. The FBC had covered up the AWE, making everyone believe the town had been destroyed in an industrial accident, not a supernatural event. As Jessie spent these years traveling across the United States looking for clues, evidence, anything, she sometimes was kept under psychiatric care because everyone thought she was crazy for insisting her brother was alive, that a slide projector had taken them to other worlds, that there was an entity that she had named Polaris living in her head. Basically, Jessie has spent over half her life being called crazy, to the point where sometimes she might have started to believe it herself. She was just traumatized, making up stories as a coping mechanism, taking childhood daydreams and mistaking them for reality. But when Polaris finally leads Jessie to this random building in New York City, the oldest house, the hidden headquarters of the FBC, everything changes. She's brought into a world where everything she was told was fake is real and unquestioned. She meets people who don't doubt her, people who see weird things happening all the time, and it's just another average Tuesday. She can be like, "Hey, can anyone else teleport around here like I've been doing?" And they're like, "No, but sounds about right. Cool. No big deal." It's a place that's completely extraordinary and weird, a place where Jessie finally belongs and can be herself. Of course, she loves every bit of it, even with all the danger. Because even beyond finally finding a place where she's treated like she's not insane, it is the inherent craziness of the oldest house that I think Jessie finds both comforting and exciting. We know that when she was a kid, she had dreams of traveling the world. She was always adventurous. Life for the past 10+ years was probably often terribly monotonous, stuck working temporary jobs before moving on to the next town. We see that when the hiss gets in her head and tries to corrupt her, the nightmare it traps her in is one of a mundane life, working in an office where everyone looks down on her, endlessly completing repetitive tasks. Just as Dylan says he dreamed, she was an ordinary girl from an ordinary town. She worked an ordinary job in an ordinary office. It's the ordinary story. And that's clearly not a life Jessie wants to live. She loves gaining telekinetic powers from a floppy disk. She likes chasing paranatural rubber ducks and fighting creatures from other dimensions. She likes discovering new things around every shifting corner of a living building. Maybe the circumstances aren't the best, considering there's an outbreak of a deadly evil presence that has the place stuck in a lockdown, but Jessie has finally found her happy place. And it's so fun to hear her react to all this wacky stuff in her stoically enthusiastic way. It's weird, she loves it, and she loves that she can be a little weird too without being treated like she's mentally disturbed because of it. But it's not all sunshine and roses. There's a big problem that Jesse has with the situation. Just a few minutes after entering the oldest house, she picked up a gun, the service weapon, and was deemed the new director of the FBC. A job she certainly never asked for, but bam! Walk out the door and there's already a portrait of her face on the wall. Fastest promotion ever. Jesse makes it clear that she doesn't see herself as a leader. She has no experience. The place she fits in is the janitor's office, cleaning out supernatural drain clogs, not making orders from a director's chair. She doesn't like being above other people, as we see her making sure they don't refer to her as ma'am instead of by her name.
Yes, ma'am, Director Faden.
Please, Emily. Not even as a joke.
And she especially doesn't like feeling responsible for others. She already feels like she let down Dylan when they were kids, and indeed, he grew to feel abandoned by her over the years. She couldn't save her baby brother, and now she's supposed to be the head of an entire organization. They're just asking to be let down. And it's not only a discomfort with being given a high role without feeling like she's earned it, it's a discomfort with the FBC as a whole. She spent her whole life hating these people. They're the ones who took her brother and ruined her life. Even though when she first starts meeting the people who work there and it starts to humanize them, and she finds it in herself to gradually start trusting them with her secrets, they're all just in the same sinking boat trying to survive together after all. That doesn't mean that she's suddenly okay with the FBC as a whole. Why would she want to become the face of the same people who kidnapped and essentially tortured her brother? She wouldn't, no! So this is another thing we see consistently throughout the game. Yes, Jesse responds with delight at this crazy world, but she also often has these negative thoughts, hating the fact that she has been forced into a position she is not comfortable with. I guess she's not really a reluctant protagonist. She never hesitates to act. She will do whatever it takes to get through this bad situation, especially if it means saving Dylan. But that doesn't mean she's happy about it. She's more of a quietly resentful protagonist. The FBC sucks, and I hate that you forced me to be the director. But yeah, I'll do the job to help people. Because at least I'm finally in a place that makes sense to me. And you know what? By the end of the game, her view of things starts to change. She finally accepts her role. She is the director. This mess is now hers to clean up. Is she going to suddenly start changing the way she acts because of it? No, but she's no longer detached from the title. She knows she has to be a leader, that no one else could do the job, and she's willing to keep putting in the work. Not just for survival, not just because she likes it there, but because she helped start something with that slide projector 17 years ago, and now she's going to finish it. Jesse, at the start of the game, reacting negatively to her new job title, is very different from Jesse in the post-game content, who is like, yeah, I'm the director, let me go do director things, with full confidence multiple times. Now, the relatively recent spin-off multiplayer game, FBC Firebreak, may not have given us too much additional information about what has happened after Control, but we do know that Jesse has continued as director for years now, taking care of the oldest house through this seemingly endless lockdown, working on a solution. She may not have wanted to be a leader, but she's never stopped fulfilling her duties regardless. But now, in Resonant, who knows what we'll see? It seems Jesse has gone MIA, the Hiss have escaped the oldest house, and now that Dylan has awoken from his coma, it's his responsibility to keep cleaning things up. I really look forward to seeing what is going to happen there, and it'll be great to see if Dylan's mindset changes in some way between the beginning and end of the game, like Jesse's did. Because I think he's going to be in a similar position of being very unhappy about having to do anything to help the FBC after all they've done to him. But maybe, like Jesse, there will be elements to it that he enjoys too. As he traverses through this twisted version of New York, maybe he'll be having the time of his life. I guess we'll find out soon enough. So that's just what I wanted to talk about today, the interesting double-sided jukebox coin of Jesse's life. Joy in the absurdity on one side, and frustration with the responsibility on the other. And there's so much more I could say about Control, especially when I think about the little connections to it in Alan Wake 2 and stuff like that. Like, am I totally misremembering, or in the Timebreaker DLC, isn't there like a whiteboard with different names that are implied to be Jesse in different universes, but one of the names is Dylan? And in Control, Dylan makes the point that he thinks Jesse and Dylan are interesting names because they could be girls' names, they could be boys' names, they could be anything. Is there some implication there that Jesse and Dylan are somehow, like, two of the same person? That is my crazy theory that I don't necessarily think is true, but I will say I told you so if it is. I mean, we've seen so many instances throughout Remedy games of people possibly just being other versions of each other. Martin Hatch is Mr. Door, Alan Wake is Thomas Zane, Alex Casey is low-key Max Payne, Jack Joyce is Tim Breaker is literally Sean Ashmore, his actor. Is Jesse an alternate version of Beth from Quantum Break, as the Timebreaker DLC implies? Does that make Nick in that game an alternate version of Dylan, since they share actors too? Where does Jesse and Dylan sharing names fit into this? My mind is melting. Anyway, that's enough for now. I've got a bunch of other games to play now that I've finished Control one more time, so I'll see you again when I've got something new to talk about. Stay groovy, everyone, and play Control if you haven't. I really only talked about the tip of the iceberg in this video. There's so many fun, surprising things in the game, and I wish I could go back in time and experience it fresh for the first time, but it's still so good every time you replay it, so yeah, check it out.